Hello, I'm Millie, brother, founder of CODA. CODA, Children of Deaf Adults. And I'm here just to tell my story about forming the organization, the development, and I'm hoping to just share this information with anyone that's interested. And want to be sure you know this is not a formal presentation representing the organization itself. So, I'm signing and speaking at the same time, a little bit awkward for me, but I'm trying to reach out to as many people as possible, signers and non-signers. So, I'm going to start with the most important people. My parents, Mom, Evelyn, brother. She grew up in South Dakota, born deaf, has deaf cousins, and went to school for the deaf in Sioux Falls, finished there and went on to Gallaudet. My dad, he grew up in Northern California and became sick with scarlet fever, became deaf, and tried to get through public schools, frustration, and ended up going to Berkeley, then on to Gallaudet. Both my parents met there, fell in love, married, and my sister was born in Washington, D.C. Later they moved to Northern California again because of family illness and took care of my grandmother for many, many years. I was born in Palo Alto and grew up between both worlds, deaf and hearing. In the deaf world, we had close friends and interactions, and I loved the picnics and the events that we went to. In the hearing world, obviously went to school. My parents were very encouraging of me. I loved to read and was involved with music. So those worlds were never clearly identified to me. We didn't have the word deaf culture or ASL, no any of that, but I knew two different places, deaf and hearing, and I enjoyed both, but I noticed when the worlds came together, it was a little bit awkward, communication, understanding. So, after high school, I graduated, went on to university. I felt for the first time I was fully mainstream into hearing world. I enjoyed that, but felt something was missing. I didn't know exactly what. I went on to get a teaching credential, taught kids, and always had been interested in different cultures. Loved that yellow magazine, National Geographic. Beautiful pictures. I'd love to study that. So I ended up joining the Peace Corps. And they read my application. Sign language. So I was placed in a deaf school and fell in love with the kids and the families. It was a wonderful experience for me. Later, a research team from Gallaudet came through, found me, and encouraged me to go on to Gallaudet. I'd never thought about that. So I went into the MA program in 1980 and studied counseling there. I began to feel like, comfortable in the deaf world, obvious to me, felt close, comfortable in the hearing world, but fully immersed in either, not. Something was missing. So lucky for me, one of my instructors required a research study. So I picked interviewing with other people like me. Grew up with deaf families. And I set up 15-minute interviews right. They went on and on and on. We went into depth and storytelling. It was really a wonderful experience. And I thought to myself, how can I continue this? So I graduated in 1982, went back to California, and decided to set up an organization. Wrote a newsletter, picked the name CODA. Why? In my musical experience, I read music, and in the end of music, they have what's called a CODA, meaning the end that relates to all of the music, but is a little bit different. I felt that connection. Was related to my parents, and I was the end that was a little bit different. So, I wrote that newsletter in 1983, sent it out, and was shocked to see what came back. I heard from Finland. I got beautiful poetry. So it really motivated me and encouraged me to continue on. The focus was on deaf parent, hearing child families, and our identity as kids, growing up in the two worlds. So in 1984, I went to a training at CSUN, Cal State University Northridge, and was introduced to another CODA. Who was that? Sheila Jacobs. Now earlier, when my father had gone to Gallaudet, he had written a letter to his mom. No flights to Washington, D.C. for them, train all the way over. And he met who? Leo Jacobs. So interesting how those two met way back, and now daughters are meeting. So Sheila was very helpful in setting up our first anniversary celebration in Northern California. And in 1985, an interpreter panel at San Diego, and she brought together hearing interpreters with deaf parents and hearing interpreters with hearing parents. That panel was very powerful, and after it was done, there were 60 CODAs all together that gathered together and said, we want to have our own focus for a conference. So the next year, we decided to get together in Fremont, California. There were 100 people there with the focus on CODA. It was celebration and exploration of our heritage. 1986 was the first conference. In 87, I was invited to go to Finland and meet with other CODA interpreters from different countries. We had 56 CODAs from 16 different countries. And again, very powerful experience. So the point was to see if there were other events in their countries, and nothing was formalized, so invited them to join with us. And our focus became very broad internationally. From here on, we have had many different activities. We have a board, and we're a nonprofit organization. I have since retired from the board, but still very active with the CODA. And we have a variety of events, scholarship in my name, which was an honor given to me. My mother was concerned that with my name on a scholarship would mean I was already dead. No, I made sure she was aware of that. That's not what it meant. And I want people to know that I don't pick the winners. There's a committee, a formalized through a university, that does that. But I also do not pay out of pocket for that. We earn money for the scholarships annually. So we support CODA, Kids of Deaf Adults, for the younger group, camps and events and activities. We have Mother Father Deaf Day, honoring our parents, the last Sunday of April annually. Retreats, gatherings, there's a host of things occurring, but you can get on the internet and go to CODA-international.org, get more information, you can become a supporting member, it's free, and get more in-depth details about CODA. So I want to now thank so many people that have helped over 30 years. Really appreciate that so much, and want to thank you for your interest, and also thank Kaki Sugiyama for helping me with this video. Okay.